Attention. We have in front of your face 5 tiers of running back rankings heading into the 2020 fantasy football season.
I know. Right below, you see a couple names that are frustrating you already. Why is Chris Carson so low, Smitty? Stop talking like this is all a matter of fact. It's an opinion-based situation for all of us right now. Only a couple days before the 2020 NFL season kicks off. Damn excited. These are my tiered rankings. You follow me for a reason. I'm not cookie cutter. My goal is to try and be ahead of the curve. My rankings won't jive with all of your rankings. I know that my Miles Sanders ranking, the fact that he's not even in my top 3 tiers, is going to make a lot of you angry. Mixon owners as well will be very, very unhappy with this ranking. I ask you to ride with me through this episode and make your determination at the end. And if you disagree with me, that is quite all right. That's why we play the game. Intro. Top 5 running back.
You're watching the Fantasy Football Show.
Smitty. Take a lap.
Okay, so McCaffrey, Barkley, McCaffrey. I'm not going to get into that crazy debate. Pick who you want. I like Barkley. If I've got one draft, I'm at the 1.1. I'm taking Barkley. I think he's in for a 14-15 total TD season. I think Danny Dimes is going to unleash a lot of goodness in the next couple weeks and mature into a very, very good passer. I think it's the Panthers offense we got to worry a little bit about. New QB situation. Will it all mesh well? Will teams stack the box?
Smitty, they've always stacked the box against McCaffrey.
I get it. I'm not arguing with you. I like McCaffrey at 1. If I have 2 drafts side by side, I'm taking Barkley in one, McCaffrey in the other. Scoring can determine who I go with. That's how close it is. But if I'm asked, hey Smitty, the answer will be Barkley. My number 3. Now, here's the interesting part if you haven't noticed the color-coordinated tiers right in front of you. I have 4 players in my top tier. That doesn't mean there isn't a good separation between a few of them, but I believe that Clyde Edwards-Helaire has climbed into tier 1. I'm not saying take him 1 overall. I'm not saying take him 2 overall. I wouldn't get mad at you if you took him 3 overall. But what I'm saying is that if you get the number 4 overall pick, I'm no longer thinking, oh, you have a clear disadvantage to the people with the 1.1 and the 1.2. I'm actually thinking that Clyde can have a cup of coffee with the top 3 running backs all year long. It would not shock me one single bit if Clyde Edwards-Helaire finished inside the top 2 running backs for 2020. And I'm going to go as far as to say that Clyde Edwards-Helaire will finish so strong in 2020, you will all be considering him for the 1.1 in 2021 drafts. Don't agree? That's okay. That's why we play the game. Clyde to me, tier 1 capable. We'll find out Thursday night if I'm right or wrong. Okay, he could have a bad game. He may not get all the carries. We'll know. We'll get a flash of something. I'm excited. You're excited. If Clyde doesn't go crazy on Thursday night, be patient. If he goes crazy Thursday night,
I told you so.
The real interesting part is when you get into tier 2, because I think it's really small. I think tier 2 could include Jacobs. It could include Ekeler. You could probably put Henry in there. I think Drake and Chubb would then fall into a different tier, a small tier of 2 if you wanted to do that. Holy smokes, I got a draft in 1 hour and 21 minutes. So just got an alert. That draft's with Umberger. I'm in a league with Umberger. Okay, back on point. I think that even though you can draft Cook, Kamara, Jacobs, Ekeler, Henry, Drake, and Chubb all in round 1, I think round 1 outside of tier 1 running backs can be divided into 2 tiers. And I think the only 2 players that feel like they can dance with the top 4 on a lot of occasions, but maybe not finish with the top 4 is Cook and Kamara. You've got to cuff Cook to Madison. If you don't, you should be quite ashamed of yourself. Same thing with Lat Murray and Kamara. Same thing with Tony Pollard and Zeke Elliott. Not too concerned with cuffing McCaffrey or Barkley. Their backups wouldn't do near as well like Lat Murray, Tony Pollard, and Madison would. I'm kind of starting to like Mike Davis a little bit as a cup, but not a guy that's critical. But Cook and Kamara could drop top 2 to 5 numbers on occasion, on regular occasion in 2020. So they deserve to be, I believe, in their own tier, a tier that kind of flirts with those top 4 running backs. But Clyde is out of tier 2. Clyde is in tier 1, and I won't go so far to say that he's at the bottom of tier 1 hanging on by a thread. I think he will dance with 1 and 2 all year long. One of those situations where it wouldn't surprise me if Clyde week 5 was the number 1 running back. Maybe he doesn't finish the number 1. I don't know. I can't predict the future, but I do my best trying to do so. Jacobs, Ekeler, Henry, Drake, Chubb. The reason you see tier 3 separated from Mixon and Sanders in tier 2. The reason, something that's going to make a lot of you very angry. I know that. I know this. But the reason I did that is because I said to myself, how can I put Mixon and Sanders, who I've been peddling out as guys to avoid where people are currently taking them in the 9 to 12 overall range, how can I put them in tier 3 just to accommodate people and not have people get all upset when I don't believe they are round 1 running backs? Guys you take as your first drafted overall player. Jacobs round 1, Ekeler round 1, Henry, Drake, Chubb, all capable of being round 1 guys. I think Chubb I fade right now at a first drafted player type of value, but I think if you cuffed him and you could use Hunt also as flex, you'd be really safe. So I still feel like he deserves to be in the conversation of tier 3. Almost knocked out. You could drag him over with these guys. I wouldn't be opposed to that. And if the wind blew the right way tomorrow morning, I might rank him that way tomorrow morning. But I'm not putting Mixon in tier 3. I'm not putting Sanders in tier 3. You can get mad at me all you want. I have rhyme and reason to it. I've got a ton of videos and content on it, but in a nutshell, I don't trust either one. You can call it more gut driven than anything tangible. That's okay. Gut instinct drives a lot of what we do. I inject gut instinct into everything I do. I am worried about Mixon for tangible reasons, like that offense probably struggling the first half of the year under a rookie quarterback who I like for the long term, but I think 8-man fronts await Mixon in weeks 1 through 8, much like it did last year. And if you say to me, how can you not like Mixon in 2020, Smitty? His QB situation's upgraded. We just saw Mixon lose almost everybody that drafted him last year their league because they couldn't recover in enough time to win their league. Maybe you did, maybe you subscribed to the Fantasy Football Show and you got sleepers that helped carry you while Mixon crapped the bed for the first entire half of the year in 2019. But we do have recent evidence that Mixon crapped the bed, and there's reason to be worried about him. It's the Bengals. Joe Burrow will probably eventually turn this franchise around, but will it happen overnight? I think not. I think with a COVID offseason, how could any rookie, especially a quarterback, come in and command things in a way that turns around a Bengals franchise? It could happen. I'm not asking anybody to not draft it all in the first round versus drafting Mixon. People, listen to what I'm advising here. If Mixon is a top 6 to 10 running back, do you think I'm gonna lose any sleep at all? Do you think I'll even feel wrong? The answer is no, because all I'm doing is telling you not to draft Mixon when you could take safer players like Henry, and you could call Drake riskier. I don't mind that. Ekeler probably has a safer floor than anybody in the top 5 to 10. Same thing for Jacob. So why am I crazy by saying, hey, if you believe in them, take them, but these are the guys that are way safer? How am I wrong? How am I off base by advising people to avoid the risk, draft a safer running back, and play the odds that Mixon could disappoint you? Bad decision maker on and off the field. Follow him on Instagram and see how focused he really looks heading into 2020. I dare you. Jacobs, high floor. To address Cook real quick, I think Cook, if he's cuffed to Madison, you're guaranteed top 5 to 7 running back numbers. Stefanski did leave and go over to Cleveland, where Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt are going to drop loads in 2020, but that offense should remain the same. And Cook will cook in the kitchen in 2020, and Madison really secures you that top 10 running back production. You have to take Madison. Kamara, we're worried about the contract, the epidural in the back. You don't get an epidural for fun. Let's be honest. I mean, that needle is pretty big. I don't know about you, but I think I'm going to take a pass on the extracurricular epidural for the day, but cuff him to Murray, you'll be okay. Jacobs, very, very high floor. There's nobody really in the top 5 to 10 running backs that has a higher floor. Like if he falters, if he fails, that means he doesn't get more PPR work, but he still gets some top 10 overall running back numbers. That is what you call a safe running back. He still has top 5, maybe top 6 running back appeal if he gets the extra PPR work. We worry a little bit about injury with him, and we can say that with confidence because the guy never shouldered a total, no pun intended with his shouldered a total like starter type workload in college. His biggest year ever was in the 600-yard range rushing the football. So you can't really argue he's totally proven at the college level, but he did a damn good job during his rookie year, but did get banged up a little bit. We do worry a touch about injury, and he doesn't really have the handcuff situation to warrant being moved into the blue tier number 2 with Cook and Kamara. That's why he's out of it. Cook and Kamara are in a tier by themselves because the super handcuff locks you into top 10 running back numbers. You could almost say that with the super handcuff, if you could guarantee me you're drafting Cook and Madison, you're drafting Kamara and Murray, you could argue that Cook and Kamara could hang into the bottom of this tier, maybe, but we're throwing them out into their own tier. They stay there by their lonesome because of the super handcuff situation that both of these guys have. Ekeler has a pretty good handcuff in Kelly, but I don't think it makes him top 5 to 6, but it makes him potentially number 7. You could move Ekeler to number 7 if you had Kelly. That's a really good duo to have. It walks you into a secure running back 10 play every single week. Ekeler, to me, like Jacobs, has a really, really high floor, and he probably has upside that's maybe 1 or 2 spots higher than Jacobs. I think that's why I like Ekeler so much. And I'd almost be tempted to put Ekeler at 7. I might have almost talked myself into that. Henry, you gotta love him. This is PPR, but you still gotta love his ability to run the football and get you multiple touchdowns in one outing, any given outing. I worry about injury with him. He's a big dude hitting the ground over and over, doing a lot of his work between the tackles. There is reason to believe injury could await for Henry. And don't try and argue that you can't predict injury. Look, you can spot red flags and say, hey, big dude, bigger pound for pound than any running back we've really seen in a long, long time, especially when you consider how tall he is, the amount of impact this guy's body takes every time he hits the ground, and the between the tackle work being his focal point. He's not dividing it half and half like a Kamara or a McCaffrey. It's all between the tackle work. Makes me worried about taking him as my first drafted player, but not so worried that I don't take a stab at 9, 10, 11. Drake, he's in a walking boot, kind of like Kamara. Let's be honest, I love Drake. You could almost say I'm kind of biased toward Drake. You could say I'm a lot biased toward Drake. During my spare time, I don't just go get an epidural or a walking boot.
Miss Betty, where's my walking boot? And where's the meatloaf? We want it. We want it now.
Even with, okay, so that's what makes Drake the bottom running back in this tier. Miss Smitty says, screw the meatloaf. The walking boot situation, which the Cardinals say is no big deal. Drake himself says it's no big deal. That makes him the bottom ranked running back in this tier, but I'm still willing to roll the dice with him because he has top 4, not top 5, not top 6. I think top 4 running back upside. He could be good enough to be in the bottom of this tier. The unknowns with the injury, the fact that yes, he hasn't had the track record to make him a top 5 overall running back. Those things make you a little cautious, but I only pump the brakes so much because I believe in the talent. We've seen it for half a year. He was the most productive running back outside of 2 or 3 running backs in 2019 from week 9 on. From when he was acquired by the Cardinals, he was lights out from that point on. He wasn't spotty. He wasn't up and down. This guy was lights out from week 9 on. So we have momentum to an extreme degree, especially when you consider what this guy did at the end of the year in the final 3 weeks. 137 and 4 TDs, 166 and 2 TDs, and 60 yards off only 12 carries for 1 TD. The guy scored 7 TDs in the final 3 games of the season and still had 7 receptions and 9 targets in that 3-game span. You can doubt him if you want. I didn't load every team up with Drake, but I have a handful of teams riding on Drake, and I feel really good about it. I sleep like a baby. Mixon and Sanders. Okay, here's where people get really, really upset. Let me move Chubby Boy down at the bottom. Mixon and Sanders, I get it. There's appeal. Do they have the potential to be top 10 running backs? Absolutely. Sanders could be a poor version of Alvin Kamara, but a really, really good running back. Mixon has the talent, but all the red flags I talked about bump him out of the category here where these guys could be potential round 1 picks for me. That's what made me do a tier break. I would not take Mixon in round 1. I would not take Sanders in round 1. I, in fact, won't take either one of these guys at the top of 2. Not because I hate them, not because I don't see top 10 running back potential. I just like a whole bunch of other running backs more. Sometimes it's not about me hating guys, it's about me liking other players better. So get off the old Smitty hates Mixon, Smitty hates Sanders. I would draft both of them if they fell to a value range I liked.
Where's the value range that you like, Smitty?
Sanders was going at the end of round 2. Is that so much to ask? Why does he have to climb to 1.9? The Eagles coaching staff is a running back by committee type of staff. Boston Scott may not scare you now, but what they do with their running backs will frustrate you, or could. The potential is there to frustrate you, and that's why I only like Sanders at the end of round 2. If he doesn't fall there, so be it. I like these guys better, and I'm fine with it. More importantly, when these guys are off the board, I go on a wide receiver and Mahomes and Lamar run that make Mixon and Sanders fall to my bottom of the second if I'm doing a big board. My big board has Mixon and Sanders at the bottom, the very bottom of the second round. I could even bump them into 3.2, 3.1 because I like Godwin better, because I like Drake and Ekeler and Chubb better, because I'd take Mahomes and Lamar in a heartbeat over either of these guys because they can carry my team on a week in and week out basis. And all you Mahomes and Lamar and early QB drafting haters,
Smitty, don't you know? You don't take a QB early. There's a lot of QBs, Smitty.
watch my Where Do You Draft Mahomes and Lamar video. I'll link it in the description. Rather than me waste my breath on that, I debate this every single offseason. I am the guy that found Patrick Mahomes. He was number 1 on my bull predictions in 2018, and I wrote that thing in 2017 when the 2017 season didn't even conclude. I put Mahomes before he was a starter as my number 1 breakout bull prediction for 2018. He wasn't even starting for the Chiefs yet. He was not even starting for the Chiefs when I wrote the article. So no one can tell me I don't know how to late QB draft. No one can tell me that I don't love or promote late QB drafting. It depends on your draft slot. If you draft at 8, 9, or 10 overall, I'm not advocating you take Mahomes or Lamar at 13 or 14 overall. Take Brady. Brady is my plan of attack for all of you drafting in a spot where you don't want to draft Mahomes or Lamar in the second round. You're going to wait for him in the third. You don't get him. Okay, no problem. Go get Brady boy. Brady will win you a league in the 7th or 8th round. Mahomes or Lamar can win you a league in the second round. And if you're drafted at 1, 2, 3, 4, Mahomes and Lamar fall to you in the late second, it's a great place, a great opportunity to take either of those guys. Point being, they both are ranked ahead of Mixon and Sanders for me. And because there's a whole bunch of wide receivers in between Chubb, Drake, and Henry, and Ekeler, and Jacobs, and Mixon and Sanders, there has to be a tier break for me at the running back spot. That's why these two are by themselves in tier 4. Jonathan Taylor, Aaron Jones, Connor. I know a lot of people are like, Connor's the next, coming of James Conner. And he could be. And I hope I'm rooting for him. But you can't put him ahead of even Sanders or Mixon. You can't put him ahead of any of tier 3. I don't think you can throw him in tier 3 or in tier 4. But I think he could definitely compete with this tier right here. Now, Taylor, I like a lot. Taylor could be slow starting. He's got fumbling problems. He's got to make sure he catches the football, learns the offense. Shortened offseason, limitations for absorbing offenses for all these rookie running backs. It makes you a little bit worried about counting on them in week 1, 2, and 3. But for having a slow moving weeks 1, 2, 3, 4 for a rookie running back, that means no rookie wall or no potential rookie wall. So it will even out. It will pay itself forward later. Taylor's growing on me in redraft. I like him in Dynasty, but Taylor's growing on me in redraft. He's probably my favorite 4th round running back right now, or one of them. And while I'll probably draft Aaron Jones ahead of him or avoid him, Aaron Jones has fallen into my third round and locked himself in there. I will not take him in the second round. Green Bay continues to not lean on him. You can say he got 19 touchdowns last year, and I'll come back and say he barely got 1,000 yards, barely, on his biggest year ever. And what does that coaching staff say when they're asked, hey, is Aaron Jones your
starter?
The answer is we run multiple running backs. You know that. We draft A.J. Dillon. That's their answer. That would be the answer they give. And A.J. Dillon is bigger than Derrick Henry. A.J. Dillon will probably consume a lot of the goal line touchdowns, and that's not good for a guy that could barely get 1,000 yards when the Green Bay Packers were feeding him a ton. I like Aaron Jones. If you can cuff him to Dillon, he makes a pretty good third-round running back to grab. Maybe not in every league, but in 1 or 2 leagues of your 400, I would go ahead and take that gamble, but I'm not taking him in round 2. I'm not taking Connor in round 2, and I love Taylor in round 4. And when you go wide receiver, which is one of my favorite draft strategies to deploy if you have like a 7 or 8 pick and MTs there, take MT, take Hopkins or Godwin in round 2, take Mike Evans in round 3. Where are the running backs you're saying? Taylor, Hunt, Mostert, Ingram. Pair 2 or 3 of those running backs together in rounds 4, 5, and 6 when people flip over and start going wide receiver and you're driving against traffic. Hey, I'm going to draft all these running backs while you guys go wide receiver and QB and tight end shopping. Works out pretty well. 8 times out of 10, there is risk. Know that. And now, again,
where is Chris Carson? Why does Mostert not have a T?
Let's fix that. There we go.
There, I gave Mostert a T. Where is Chris Carson? Gurley? DJ, are you out of your mind, Smitty?
This is all subjective stuff. There's a reason there are 1,000 million analysts out there because no one sees this stuff the same. And you might have Gurley number 1 on your draft board and you go do you. You might say DJ is the next return of the Mac, and that's okay. I'm not mad at you. All I can say is that you can make an argument that Carson is very risky, that Bell is super risky, that Ingram and Fournette and Gurley and DJ and Monty, all these guys have a ton of risk that I think a lot of these guys don't quite share. They don't share at least the same amount or number of red flags, and that's why they fall, all of these guys, outside of my top 5 tiers. But it doesn't mean I don't like them. It doesn't mean that I don't love Mostert's value or Kareem Hunt. I think Kareem Hunt could win you a league, but I'm not putting him in a tier where you're going to draft him with and along these guys. And I'm not going to promote you drafting Gurley or DJ because I feel like I have to put them in a tier or people are going to get mad and judge me. You upset Gurley, Carson, DJ, owners out there, I get it. Punch the thumbs up anyway. I'll give you a hug in the comments. We don't always have to agree. I will say Gibson, Gordon, Hunt, and Mostert are my favorite from this left out group, the guys that missed the cut. They're most capable of climbing into the value ranges later when the season kicks off of tier 5 and 4, but I won't recommend you draft them or rank them in the above tiers until they get to that point. But Gibson's got a lot of upside. Mostert could be a top 10 running back, or he could be on a short leash, hence why I don't have him in the top 5 tiers. Hunt, you can't draft him too early, but he should get a boatload of targets. And if Chubb gets hurt, and Chubb is one of the more aggressive runners in the league, and he does almost all of his damage between the tackles. He's aggressive, he's in between the tackles. Heavy workload. Last year, one of the most gruesome knee injuries in college that people say, oh, that's behind him. Knee injuries to the severity that this guy had don't go away. Eventually, your knee starts to break down differently. You get arthritis earlier. Look at Todd Gurley's knees. I'm not saying that's going to happen in 2020. I'm not predicting that Chubb for sure gets hurt. But given how valuable Hunt is, given that Hunt has top 5 running back skill, if Chubb gets banged up, and Hunt comes in and tears it up, what do you think the Browns are going to do? That's got to worry you. That's got to excite you if you're a Hunt owner and it gives him a level of appeal that no one in that yellow group down below has. It gives him appeal to be as good as 5 to 11. So I'm going to say that, and these guys are in no particular order, Hunt has the most appeal from this group right here. Subscribe, follow, tell your friends, tell your grandma about the show.
And we need the meatloaf. We want it.
Top 5 running back.
You're watching the Fantasy Football Show.
Smitty.